same kind of information. We go to them for pen registers that are on the law enforcement side. We work with the phone companies to do wiretaps on the law enforcement side. So there's a fairly long history of working with the phone companies and using their data and their facilities from a law enforcement perspective that has given us some confidence that this will work in that regard.
Thank you.
The recent public revelation that Senator Wyden referenced, that the NSA has been using a loophole in the FISA Amendments Act to search for Americans' private communications without a warrant. What some people have dubbed the backdoor search loophole. Now, I think it's fairly clear that the intent of Section 702 was to target foreign communications. But the government clearly, based on that letter, believes it has the authority to deliberately search for the phone calls or emails of specific Americans and to circumvent the traditional warrant protections guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment. I would ask Mr. Legit and Mr. Cole, do you believe that the government should be allowed to conduct searches of information on U.S. citizens collected under Section 702 without having to seek a warrant for that information?
Senator, the way that it has been viewed and the courts have interpreted it is that the first issue is whether you are legally authorized to collect the information in the first place. This is what Section 702 allows us to do. We target only non-U.S. persons and only people believed to be outside of the United States. And those are the strict limits. Obviously, there will be communications that will involve Americans that are incidental. They're not the ones that are targeted. But we're allowed to collect that information.
So you end up collecting incidental information
That's
from
correct.
Americans, and you're saying that the authorization under Section 702 to collect that information trumps the protection of those Americans would typically be afforded under the Fourth Amendment?
It's a several step process. You first are allowed to collect the information. It's just like a traditional criminal law wiretap. You have the person and the phone number that you have wiretapped, but you collect calls that they make to other people who may not be the target of your investigation, but you'll collect those calls as well because they involve the person whose phone you are tapping. So it's the same thing with 702. If you are legally permitted to collect that information, then you've got it. And then the question is whether or not we can access that information, use the information that we legally possess. And this is what is different from the warrant requirement, because the warrant is going to search for the Americans, the U.S. persons' records, which we're not doing. We get those incidentally, but we have them legally under 702. And then the question is whether or not it's then appropriate to look through those records because they're already legally ours. We haven't made a violation. We haven't gone out to seek them illegally in any way, shape, or form. They are legally within our possession and control. To further legitimate criminal investigations, to further legitimate counterterrorism investigations and things of that nature. And certainly we have restrictions that we try to place internally on those. We try to make sure that they're used responsibly. We try to make sure that they're only used for specific purposes, but we already legally possess it. And it's just a question of not ignoring what we legally possess.
Mr. Cole, I think you've made the government's position very clear, and I appreciate that. I think it's something we should probably look at, given the fact that we have this opportunity for reform right now. I want to get to my final question because we're running short on time already, but I want to go back to this issue that was raised early on in the questions around how HR 3361 defines a specific